Oikos presents 15 Seconds of Strength.
Here we go. Steve's got a trunk full of groceries and no one to help him.
Oh, that's tough, Jim. Looks like a 5-trip load at least.
He grabs the first bag, the second. Bob, it looks like he's trying to do it all in one trip. He shimmies the door open, steps over the dog, and he stumbles.
Oh, right into the kitchen without missing a beat. Jim, now that's a man who eats his protein-packed Oikos.
With 15 grams of complete protein in each cup, Oikos Triple Zero can help build strength for every day. Oikos, stronger makes everything better.
How does PwC take your company to the leading edge? We bring the sharpest minds in tech to your team, so you can bring the ideas that will transform your business. We are passionate about your industry, so you can walk into any room with every advantage. We're with you every step of the way, so you can know you're headed in the right direction. At PwC, we build for what's next, so you can get there now. Let's get started at pwc.com/us/leading edge.
Hey, this is James Arnold Taylor, voice actor, the voice of Yabba-dabba-doo, Fred Flintstone,
Johnny Test, who's 11 years old and totally awesome,
Ratchet from Ratchet and Clank, Tidus from Final Fantasy X, oh yes, and of course, Obi-Wan Kenobi. It wouldn't be Coffee with Kenobi without yours truly. The force is strong here indeed.
First time that you see a cruise ship is akin to looking up at the pyramids for the first time, because the scale of it is unbelievable. You know, they're 1.2 million square feet, at least. They're over 200 feet tall. They're more than 3 football fields long.
As a reminder, lunch is served between 11:30 a.m. and 2 p.m. at 2 locations, Cookies Barbecue and Cookies Stew. Please remember to drink lots of water and use your sunscreen.
This is Ashley Eckstein, Ahsoka Tano from Star Wars The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to a very special episode of Coffee with Kenobi. I'm your host, Dan Zehr. Delighted to talk some Star Wars with you, but this is more than talking Star Wars. This is the culmination of years of planning with Coffee with Kenobi and MEI Travel and Mouse Fan Travel. Yes, we just got back from our vacation on the Disney Wish. I'm here with my wife and my son. Let's say hi to Deanna Zehr.
Hello, everyone.
And Mason Zehr.
Hello there.
Nice. So we've had quite an amazing experience. We've been gone 8 days. It feels like 8 weeks, but that's not a bad thing. We just did a lot of incredible experiences. Deanna, what was it like for you before we actually got on the boat? Just sort of the anticipation level for you going on this trip.
One of the best decisions we made this time was we went to the Disney parks before we went to the cruise, where last time we did a cruise, we did it in the opposite order. And so I was really looking forward to the cruise experience this time and ready to relax after 3 straight days at the park.
Yes, the first time we did this was on our honeymoon, which I think I've talked about before, but it's worth repeating because, as Deanna just mentioned, we did the parks after we went on our first cruise, and it was something that we regretted because the cruise is so unique and there's just an emotional high that comes from going on that boat that nothing really compares to it. But before we went on the cruise, actually, Mace, let me ask you that. This is your first Disney cruise. What were you thinking about? What were you excited about before we actually got on the ship itself?
Before I saw the ship, I knew it was going to be big, like you guys were telling me and stuff. And then I looked at it and I was like, whoa, that is big. Not just big, it's big. And it just blew my mind.
Yeah, it's a sight that really kind of takes your breath away. Before we got on the boat, as Deanna mentioned, we spent 3 nights at the parks. We stayed at Disney's Port Orleans French Quarter. Impressions of the resort?
Excellent, as usual. And I feel like they've redone it since the last time we've stayed there, and it looks really good.
We did something I think that we talk about and we've done more recently, but this time we had our older boys, Peyton and Parker, and their girlfriends, Emma and Grace, with us. And we would go to the parks early in the morning, enjoy that, and it would get very, very warm. It was a warm time. Of course, it is June in Central Florida. And then we would come back to the resorts, and we would take advantage of the food court and the wonderful pool there. And it was, I think, that made things really great. Mason, I know you love that pool.
Yeah, I love the pool, and I also love the lobby, like the smells and
the beignets, Mason. You really like the beignets.
I was going to say, the beignets, they count as a snack. And speaking of that, this is the first time I've used the quick service dining plan, and I wasn't sure what to expect. I know you got 2 quick service meals a day and a snack. And now with the way that things have changed and expanded and improved, you can look at your allotment of the dining plan on the My Disney Experience app. And I feel like it's a complete game changer. My family and several other people have called me Dan the dining plan man. And let me tell you, it continues to work. What is it to you, Deanna, that makes the dining plan so beneficial?
The excitement I see in you when you get to navigate the dining plan. I think that would be my favorite part. But no, the food is always excellent, top tier. And in fact, the shrimp and grits at French Quarter is not to be missed.
Yes, that our oldest Peyton thought that was great. So did Parker. I mean, and because there was just something incredible about it. There are so many options for you. I think I only had 2 cheeseburgers in like 8 days, which is crazy. My wife is laughing. Mason, what do you think about the food at the French Quarter?
Yeah, I loved how there were so many options, not just at the French Quarter, but also at the parks for like you get a snack, like you get a beignet, or you could go and get a lemonade, and that would even count as a snack, and you'd have so many options.
Plus, for those of you who are 21 or older, with your dining plan meals, you can actually get an alcoholic beverage, which was a nice little treat to kind of cap off the day. And the reason that works so well is because you get the refillable mugs as part of the dining plan experience, so you're guaranteed to never be thirsty. I think I ran back to the food court area to get drinks, I don't know, I was going to say half a dozen times, but probably more than that. There's so much more we could say about the parks, but the main thing you're listening to, you wanted to hear about, you couldn't wait to hear about, and experience with us, was the Coffee with Kenobi MEI Travel and Mouse Fan Travel cruise on the Disney Wish. One of the great things about this cruise experience is that we got to travel with members of the CWK family. You're going to hear from them each individually right now. So I'm here with Christina on Keg and Compass, which is on the 5th deck. It is the forward section of the Disney Wish, which is something you will know about once you go on the cruise with MEI and Mouse Fan Travel, hopefully. But Christina, you are one of the experienced members of our Coffee with Kenobi travel community, and it is such a pleasure to do all of this with you.
Thanks, Dan. It's so great to be here. This is my second journey with the CWK family. I have, the first journey that I did was on the Halcyon, which was the most amazing experience. And I thought there was nothing that would be able to top that. However, this second journey with my family, my found family from the CWK community, has exceeded expectations. It's been so amazing to finally meet Deanna and spend some time with her, and also reconnect with many of my family members that I met for the first time for the Halcyon.
And I love that you said found family, because that's a massive part, of course, of what the Star Wars mythology is about. And you feel that, like there's something really cool. And this isn't a commercial. People have their own proclivities towards travel. We're just saying that with us, it was just extra special because I look around and I see all these people together, and I love that people come from all over the world, and you literally came from across the planet to spend time with us on the ship. So if someone were to say to you, what were some of the magical things that you experienced because of this trip, what are some highlights for you?
So one of the best things was the ability to be able to enjoy an experience that I probably wouldn't have ordinarily done if it was just me on my own. So I have come all the way from Australia where, we don't have...
How does PwC take your company to the leading edge? We bring the sharpest minds in tech to your team, so you can bring the ideas that will transform your business. We are passionate about your industry, so you can walk into any room with every advantage. We're with you every step of the way, so you can know you're headed in the right direction. At PwC, we build for what's next, so you can get there now. Let's get started at pwc.com/us/leading edge.
Ready to make a real impact every day? Join the Active Day Home Care team and help clients maintain their independence in the comfort of their own homes. Make a difference in someone's life as you provide essential daily assistance and protect their health and happiness. Earn up to $20 an hour and enjoy additional perks like optional daily pay, 401k, paid time off, ongoing educational training, and more. Join a team that values care, compassion, and your professional growth. Visit activeday.com to apply.
Disney, very limited access to Disney cruises, no access to Disney parks, but I have managed to be able to do that with a very good friend and her daughter, and we have been able to enjoy this experience with members of the CWK community that we had initially, me and my friend Kendra had first met through our trip on the Halcyon, and that we hadn't had the opportunity to connect with in person since that time in 2023, and now in 2025 we are all meeting together again on the Disney Wish, which has been just the most magical experience, and that in and of itself is a reason enough to do this, but aside from that, there's also the Disney experience itself. So for me, I've managed to come from literally halfway across the world. I have been able to see the Disney experience going to the parks with my friend and her daughter, and seeing that experience from her daughter's eyes with that magic and that wonder, and then coming onto the Disney Wish, our anticipation was increased by watching the documentary on Disney Plus beforehand, and then coming here and seeing the magic and knowing the hard work, 24/7 work that has gone into generating the magic of this experience. So that, in conjunction with the fact that we get to experience it with our friends that we would not have known unless it had have been for the CWK community, has really been very special.
I'm so glad to hear that, and it is a really, it's just a unique experience because everything is taken care of, the food, the entertainment. It's not really what will I do? I'm going to be bored. It's more like, what can I fit into this amazing schedule? And speaking of amazing schedules, yesterday we went on Castaway Cay. But you did this really clever thing. You stayed on the ship, and you basically had the ship to yourself. What was that like?
It was amazing. So I had the distinct opportunity to stay here on the ship when everybody else had gone on shore, and I basically had the ship to myself. So I walked around, I took a lot of photos, I went into areas that would ordinarily be closed, but the cast members were more than happy for me to go in, take photos, have a look around, and access areas that normally at different times of the day would be considered out of bounds for everyday, all of the other guests. So I went to the Disney Theatre, I went to Luna Theatre, it was amazing. And I went into the Arendelle Dining, and I took lots of photos of the they've got this amazing wall of the portrait gallery. As you go into the Arendelle Dining Theatre, you have individual portals that have either Frozen motifs or so it's like Elsa motifs or Anna motifs, and it's just so, the theming is so exceptional that you there's nothing that you wouldn't be able to identify.
Well, that's awesome. I'm so glad to hear it. Well, much more to come, and I think it's safe to say you passed the audition, and you can come on Coffee with Kenobi anytime.
I'd be more than happy to come anytime. Thanks, Dan.
Now we are here with Kendra on Kagan Compass. Welcome to the show, finally.
Hi, thank you.
Tell us about some of the magical moments that you've had on the Disney Wish.
There's been so many, actually. So actually, one of the best magical moments was today and going to the adults-only area at the Cove and just spending half an hour listening to Thrawn on my AirPods and just, enjoying the beautiful sun and the pool. But the other magical part is also it involves children. Bringing my daughter and getting to see her interact and meet all the other, Coffee with Kenobi kids and, just chilling out with Mason and the Harrison kids. And, that's been super magical, I think.
I love that. And there's something actually, Christine and I were talking about this. There's something really cool about found family. Christine talked about found family, which is such a great theme in Star Wars. And we've got this found family here with this Coffee with Kenobi travel group. It just makes kind of extra special moments, I think, in this magical experience.
Yeah, I agree. And it's so nice, roaming around the ship and then bumping into your people, having these hallway conversations and making plans. And it's been so lovely hanging out with the people that you get to, just socialize with on Facebook or, social media and that you hear all the time. It's been, just super special seeing each other in person again. And I think it really sort of reignited that amazing little community that we formed back on the Halcyon and how special that was. And also having, when we go for dinner and things, we're the biggest group they've had, and it reminded me of when we did our lightsaber training and we were the biggest group that they'd had on the Halcyon, and it's lovely. We got identified today with the bags, the CWK bags, the tote bags that we're carrying around, and the cool Star Wars magnets that we've got in our doors, and get asked, are you part of that Star Wars crew? It's been so cool. Not long enough.
coffeewithkenobi.com/shop for the bag if you would like one. How would you compare the hyperspace lounge to the lounge on the Halcyon, which the name is suddenly escaping me? The Sublight Lounge. Thank you.
Yeah, we would actually, Christina and I beelined straight for the hyperspace lounge, much like we did when we got on the Halcyon. The Aussies were seen, straight at the bar. It's not the same. No. Nothing can mimic that. The first thing I noticed was the screen behind the bar that it reminded us of being on the Halcyon again, because it was like our windows, to space, and seeing the Star Destroyers and transporters and things flying by. That was very cool. And then the transition to hyperspace. But the cast members were not in character. And I really picked that up because their name badges did not say, they said Mexico.
That's in the Outer Rim.
And also I don't think they didn't live and breathe Star Wars like the cast members of the Halcyon did. So, I think that's what made this.
Where's Chris and Emily? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the triplets from Nal Shaddaa.
Thank you so much for being not only on the cruise with us, but for being on Coffee with Kenobi.
Yeah, so cool. Thank you for organising, and we'll be back in 2 years.
We're here with another veteran of the CWK Mouse Fan Travel, Coffee with Kenobi Travel Family Liberty. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, as usual.
Absolutely. Well, it's such a pleasure to travel with you and everyone here on I almost said the Halcyon. Rest in peace, Halcyon. What has it been like to be on the Wish? Because this is your first Disney cruise, right?
This is my first Disney cruise. It is not my first cruise, but it is my first Disney cruise.
And how would you compare the two?
The Wish, there's no comparison to a Disney cruise. I've cruised Carnival. I've cruised Holland America, which was more of a mature adult cruise. Yeah, the Wish it truly is magical. The Wish definitely was magical.
Tell me why.
It's that Disney magic. It's the mouse. Just all the little touches. I felt the same touches on the Wish that I felt in the parks. There's just little bits of magic everywhere you look.
How does PwC take your company to the leading edge? We bring the sharpest minds in tech to your team, so you can bring the ideas that will transform your business. We are passionate about your industry, so you can walk into any room with every advantage. We're with you every step of the way, so you can know you're headed in the right direction. At PwC, we build for what's next, so you can get there now. Let's get started at pwc.com/us/leading edge.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
From finding hidden Mickeys, the Mickeys in the carpet, the cast members make it special as well. It truly is the Disney magic.
So speaking of magic, which is a great word to describe it all, what are some magical moments that have happened to you while on this ship?
I would say my probably most magical moment was forcing myself to stay up till midnight so that I could witness the show in the atrium.
Was it worth it?
It was absolutely worth it. I stayed up the night, and I'm not sure if every night is different, but the night that I watched the chandelier, it was actually from Cinderella, and it was the countdown to midnight. And then, so when the clock struck midnight, and she was dancing with the prince, and she realized it was midnight, and then you hear the bell tolling, and the ceiling lit up, and there were sparkles everywhere, and that I got chills. That was absolutely my magical moment.
That's a pretty great one. And you were traveling with your family, and they seem to be having a great time too. Everybody's always smiling when I see you.
Everybody is always smiling. I think everybody has found their little piece of the ship and something to make it special. My husband just likes the balcony on the ship and just finding a quiet corner and just existing. Yeah. And he loves the characters as well. So we got our picture taken with Daisy, my husband and I. And so he loved that. And then my stepdaughter, Jillian, I think she's enjoyed just different parts of the ship. Her favorite thing was definitely meeting Tiana. She fangirled out over Tiana. I think she actually had tears welling up in her eyes hugging Tiana. That was her magical moment.
I love that. So is it fair to say that the next time Coffee with Kenobi Mouse and Travel have an experience like this, you're going to be a part of it?
Absolutely. I wouldn't miss it. I would not miss my Coffee with Kenobi family for anything.
Well, now I'm here with another veteran of the Coffee with Kenobi Mouse Fan Travel family that we have that's just been so wonderful, especially here on The Wish. Kato, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks, Dan. It's good to be here.
Do you remember when you came on with Corey and Tom and me and we did that CWK Patreon show?
I do remember that. I don't remember what we talked about then.
I don't either. It was your topic. I remember it was great, and now I can't remember, which is,
about heroes and heroism or something. It probably was, because that
it was very interesting because it was your idea.
I think that's what it was. We were talking about heroes and how they play out, and also in Star Wars. But who do we love and what do we admire? Right. But one of the things I work on too is like just how do we take old stories and bring them forward with us and make them into something new? Right. Because so much of the great films or the different pop culture things that we're seeing are about things that we either encountered as young people but they're much older stories. These things that are brought by generations, and then we turn them into other things.
Right. That's right up my alley with the show and its teaching. So it's one of the many reasons why we get along so well. So tell me about your experiences on the Disney Wish and some magical moments that have happened for you.
Well, certainly some. These meals that we've had together as this group of 18 people, and the adventures with how we were seating, who we were next to, how many tables would it take, and how also we interacted with the people who were our wait staff, and how much we got to know all of these people that were part of this voyage, who are here helping make this experience so interesting and bringing us food and but also getting to know us as people, and we got to know them, and that was just one of my favorite things, like just that interaction, because we'd run into people just in the buffet room at breakfast, and they would stop and say hello and ask us how things were going, and we started talking with them. I learned about people's brothers and what's going on in really just, I don't know, compelling ways. A very human experience.
I agree with that, and it's very beautifully said. So shout out to Talia and Marvin for being such wonderful stewards of, just serving us and waiting on us and just making our experience extra magical. And I think that's something that you get here on the Disney Wish. And this is your first cruise on the Wish, or on a Disney cruise, right?
It's on anything except for like the Block Island or Martha's Vineyard Ferry. That's
right. So this is probably a little bit different. How would you? Yeah, the longest boat ride. How would you compare this to other travel experiences you've had?
Well, one of the interesting things is because you're just on a ship, you're walking around, you're doing the stairs, you're meeting people, you see this different faces in different ways when you're sitting down next to people. That it starts to become like you're in a small city, but you all live in the same apartment complex when you come back, and you start to get to know your neighbors, and you start to get to know who's standing next to you, you find out where they're from, and you have these just interactions and conversations, and find out also the depth of people, what their expertise is, what they do in the world in this tiny little package. And then when you run into them, you're saying hi, and you start waving at people by the second day, and waving them down from the deck. Hi. Yeah.
And it's so great. Well, I mean, and so let's talk about the Hyperspace Lounge. How would you compare the Hyperspace Lounge?
Well, there are elements of the one from the Star Cruiser in the Hyperspace Lounge here. It's not the same experience. It's not the same interactive thing, and it's not the same depth of design or precision the way that we experienced it. The other place felt like we were alive in a Star Wars universe, and this felt like we were seeing bits of something we love while we got to sit in it and watch the screen go to hyperspace at different times and see the different ships, which we all enjoyed and loved. But it was not that Star Cruiser experience, which honestly was one of the best things I have ever done in my life, which I wouldn't have known until I did it, because you just had to trust that this will probably work. So this was a reminder of that, but it was more like, kind of through a couple of gauze layers compared to what it was like to be alive in that Star Cruiser space and in the club space that was there that we would hang out in.
I agree. I will say, being able to open the door to the Hyperspace Lounge by pushing the green button and it opens up for you, that was kind of a neat little reminder. And it can't capture the Sublight Lounge, but it's a pretty cozy, sort of a nice hug to something that really can't be replicated.
And again, though, in that space, all of the staff people were so attentive, and they were making the various drinks with the bubbles and the shine, and sitting there making just the experience so alive for us. So that part, again, comes down to the staff people that they've got, the people who are there with us, because they're like with you. In a way that isn't, we didn't just go to a club for an hour or two and leave. We were with these people that we were with again, and it was a different relationship with the people that you're interacting with, whether they're the people on the crew or the cast members or the service members, and who we are as these passengers.
I agree. Well, Cato, thank you again so much, not only for your friendship and support of Coffee with Kenobi, being such a great ambassador for the show, but it's just great to see you and Deb on the ship and on the Coffee with Kenobi travel experiences.
Well, and the very best thing was seeing all of you all and hanging out and finding out stories. We also had more time to sit and speak with one another because there is more time and also less Star Wars adventuring.
Yes.
So it's, there's a balance there.
Right.
In what that is. So our human interaction, human to human, was much deeper on this trip because there was more time as we're on this voyage, and looking at the ocean and seeing islands. But yeah.
Now I'm here with Andrew Harrison. Andrew, first of all, it's so great to see you again. It's so ironic. Much like Tom, we live so close to each other. We don't see each other much. And now we've got to experience not only the Halcyon, but...
Riley Herbst from 2311 Racing here. And you know what grinds my gears? Waiting for coffee. But instead of counting frappes and lattes, I fire up Chumba Casino. No apps, no fuss, just fun social casino games to pass the time. By the time my coffee's ready,
order for Riley.
I've already taken a few victory laps. Next time you're stuck waiting, make it entertaining. Play for free at ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
This is your before and after story, where your first steps towards a new life-changing career begin. Southeastern College can take you there. We offer in-demand hybrid and online programs with hands-on training, led by in-field career professionals, and career services to put you on the path to a rewarding and fulfilling future. This is where your transformation begins. Southeastern College, your future is bright. Visit sec.edu to get started.
The Disney Wish Together. How's the experience been for you?
It has been fantastic. I was telling my wife, Michelle, who's here with me, that this is one of those trips that, I expected going into it that it would be like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And thanks to you and the show and putting this out here, we were able to make it happen. And being with so many people who were also on the Galactic Star Cruiser with us, it's just been great to see everybody again from all around the world and just hang out. And it's been really helpful to have those connections when we got on board, because we already knew everybody, right? And so it was just really easy to mesh in with everybody. All the meetups that you've been having throughout the trip has been great. It's just been a blast.
I'm so glad. And while you're answering this, we're actually going to hyperspace. So if there's any extra loud ambient noise, that's why it is. And you got an extra added bonus because you got all three of your children with you. Of course, you and your wife are on the Halcyon with us, but now you've got all three of your kids. What has it been like to see it through their eyes?
Well, I haven't actually seen them very much because they've been in the kids club so much. But they've really enjoyed it, and it's been fun, especially our youngest, Lucas, who is about to turn 8. Just to watch his joy and excitement when he experiences new things, which this whole thing has just been one new thing after another for him. His eyes get really big and just giant laughs. It's been a lot of fun just to see their youth and energy. I just wish that I could extract some of it for myself, because here at the end of the trip, I'm starting to fade, man.
Well, you know what? That's understandable because while it's relaxing, there's still certainly a lot of things that happen during that experience. And speaking of that, what magical moments can you take away from this that you can point to?
There's so many. I will say, seeing the kids that were on this trip in our group get along so well has been fantastic, especially because my kids, well, 2 of my kids are introverted and don't really talk to people they don't know, but because of the group that was together, they really meshed really well. That's been great. Our servers at dinner have been a ton of fun, and have been really good with our kids and making sure that they're happy and making them laugh, doing magic tricks and making animals out of napkins, and that has been a lot of fun. And all the little Star Wars moments have also been fun. There was actually an unexpected one in the Aladdin stage show that we saw where the genie made a joke about how he was going to pull up Duolingo and start doing his Wookiee, and then he started doing Wookiee impressions on stage, and it was fantastic.
So you just reminded me of something. So you and I several times played Star Wars trivia.
Yeah.
Oh no,
just the one time.
The one time. Yeah. We did. You and I teamed up on advanced Star Wars trivia.
Yeah.
And we won, didn't we?
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Crowning achievement. When I was in college, I played the Star Wars Trivial Pursuit that came out right before Phantom Menace with a bunch of my friends, and they stopped wanting to play with me because I would always win. It got to the point where they would, first they decided that they were going to be the ones to pick my question regardless of what color I landed on. And then they decided that that was still too easy, so then they only read every other word in the question, and I still won, so then they just flat out lost. So this was peak nerdery right here.
Was there anybody that helped you to make sure you won?
Well, I mean, you helped me out.
That's all I was going for. Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Yeah, we traded answers. Like I think on three of the questions, I think we helped each other out on, which was great. And we ended up getting 19 out of 20 questions.
That's right.
And our hostess said that the last group, which she had win that version, I think only got like 11 right. So, yes.
That was a high five you heard. And this is the authenticity of a Coffee with Kenobi podcast on a travel experience like this. It was great fun.
Yes, it has been. I really want to thank you for putting it all together.
Oh my gosh, my absolute pleasure, buddy. So finally we're here to talk with Terry. Terry, it's so great to spend time with you. We got to see each other a little bit at the Parks at Hollywood Studios at the end of the day, hang out at our resorts. It's so great to be able to have you as one of our pioneers of this whole Coffee with Kenobi travel experience. How has it been for you being on the Disney Wish?
Well, thanks, Dan. It's really hard to put in words the emotions that I'm feeling right now, because the trip that we had a couple of years ago, there was a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of people that we got together online. We got along great. We shared a lot of ideas and a lot of interests that really bonded us together. And the first trip that we had taken a couple of years ago to the Halcyon, it just solidified that we were really all meant to be together, and that was something that's very difficult to put into words, back then. But I got to admit, it's even more difficult to put into words that right now that I have, just for the good feelings that I have for everybody, who was able to make the trip this time. I got to mention Liberty and Cato specifically. It was really great and awesome to see them because one of the things that we were able to do on this trip, because it was longer than our last one, and of course we had a lot more time during the day and the evenings to get together, is just learning about the little nuances about who we are personality-wise, but also just kind of share and talk about the type of the things that we had going on in our lives. It's amazing the knowledge base that Cato has concerning playwriting and movies and music, and I find that there's a lot of things that we have in common. That music that we have together, that a lot of the music that we like is calming, is soothing. It helps relieve the stress throughout the day. With Liberty, it's very, very awesome. To get to meet her husband and her stepdaughter. Yeah, it was. And it's also really cool that they also had people, like my wife, who although they're not totally immersed into it, they're really supportive in supporting us in just hanging out with some of the best people in the galaxy, that we've met so far.
I love that. So tell me specifically, and that was very well said. Tell me specifically some of the magical moments that have happened for you and your wife on the Disney Wish.
Okay. I want to start off by saying that my wife and I have been on probably 3-4 cruises before this with other cruise lines, and we've had tremendous service in interacting with the workers the workers on those other cruise lines here. We've never really had a complaint about organization, about how daily attitudes, greetings in the hallway and stuff. It wasn't until both my wife and I arrived on the Disney Wish, that we realized that it's miles different than what we get here. It's just simply amazing that. First of all, I had a birthday a few days ago when I was on here. And I everywhere that I went, when I wore a little birthday button, I couldn't walk past a crew member that would tell me happy birthday, which is pretty cool and all. Our room attendant, John, just a simply hardworking, wonderful guy. He did a lot to ensure that Jennifer and I had a really good stateroom with any supply.
Bubba Wallace here from 2311 Racing. Funny thing about being fast, you end up waiting a lot. First to show up, first in line, then just waiting. Me, I rev up Chumba Casino. With over 200 social casino games, no slow lanes here. Why sit around when you can spin? I'm already racing. Your turn. Play for free at ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Or anything that we needed. I think with this type of cruise that we had here, there is just enough time to spend with all of our friends here, but also get the time that Jennifer and I needed to go ahead and just recharge our batteries here while we were away from home. And I think some of those things there, a lot of people could say that, you can do that in other cruises, other vacation, but it is. I have to admit, it is so different on the Disney cruise, especially the Pirate Night last night. What we saw on the stage and the fireworks show, yes, fireworks on a cruise ship, okay? What happened during all of that, it was something that we've never experienced on any other cruise line. And as of right now, Disney has set the bar. I don't think anybody can top this unless it's another Disney cruise.
Right. Well, Terry, thanks again for not only your incredible support and friendship, but just for being a part of this Coffee with Kenobi Mouse Fan travel experience.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Dan, for doing this here, and looking forward to doing something in the future again soon for sure.
Okay, now I'm here with Michelle. You are also a travel veteran of the Coffee with Kenobi Mouse Fan travel group. It's so great to see you again. This is your first time on the show, right?
Correct.
And you and I have so much in common besides Star Wars, but of course, educators in the English field. How has this experience been for you, just traveling through Coffee with Kenobi Mouse Fan travel?
It's been really good. It was good for us. I know Andrew probably didn't mention it, but we have another Star Wars family that we met that Andrew met at Celebration, and we recently had one of our family members pass away unexpectedly. And so I thought this trip was really kind of therapeutic in some ways for us to get together with our second Star Wars family, since we couldn't be there with our other Star Wars family to kind of say our goodbyes to that person who passed away. So for us, it was just a great kind of experience to be around everybody, and it was easy traveling. Everything was kind of just easy going for us. So that's kind of what this has meant to us.
I'm glad. I'm sorry to hear about that, by the way. Andrew mentioned, or I asked Andrew about what it must have been like to have this with your kids, because on the house count, just the two of you, so that was a very different experience. Not necessarily, it's just different, right? But it's still wonderful in its own way. What was it like to be with the kids?
It was good. We like having our kids around, and it's neat to see them experience things for the first time. That when Natalie opened the door to the Hyperspace Lounge, and her look on her face when she was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it did that. And Lucas was just living his best life. Every time he saw a character, he was just smiling, beaming. And Kara made good friends with Kendra's daughter, Aurora, and that was just so lovely to see those kinds of interactions. And even Mason kind of taking our younger kids under his wing and wanting to spend time with them was really great to kind of see that part of the Star Wars family. It's not just us as adults, but that our kids got to enjoy that experience too.
Absolutely. So the question I've been asking everyone is, what kind of magical moments have you experienced on the Disney Wish?
Really, getting on the cruise ship was probably the most magical, because I felt so overwhelmed with emotion. I remember telling Nat, I might cry. She's like, it's okay, Mom. I was like, I don't want to, but I can't control that. But just feeling that sense of, I don't know, it was just an emotional moment for me as we're walking up. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're really doing this. So I think when they announced our name, and we stepped on, all of a sudden we're like, well, what do we do next? And just going and just seeing everything and meeting characters. We randomly met Daisy Duck. We weren't planning that. We just happened to be on a floor, and there she was. And watching a little girl run up to her and being so excited. Those are the kinds of things that you can't get anywhere else. And seeing all the little girls that are dressed up in their bippity-boppity, outfits, and just, I don't know, it's just the whole thing feels kind of magical.
I'm so happy. Well, hopefully this is just the second of many, many more adventures, and it's been so great spending time. I know Deanna and I have had a great time with the two of you and your kids, so thanks so much for being a part of this awesome experience.
You're welcome. It was great to be here.
This is Vanessa Marshall, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi.
All right, we had so much fun getting to know our friends and traveling with them both on the Halcyon and now here on the Disney Wish. But we're going to talk about, as a family, things that we experienced that we loved about the Disney Wish. Deanna, I'm sure you've got several highlights. What's one of them?
Well, first of all, one of my favorite parts of going on the Disney Wish, and I guess since it's my second cruise and we are Silver Castaway, as they call it, is just the anticipation, going through customs, going through security, seeing the boat for the first time, getting on the boat for the first time. It's just, there's nothing like that feeling of excitement as you're boarding the ship.
Which reminds me of, I think, of a tip that is really, really important. Before we went, we didn't instantly book the Magical Express transportation. We thought it would be quicker and easier and more affordable to take an Uber or some sort of a travel car. But that turned out not to be the case. I highly recommend the Magical Express because for us it was $45, and I thought it was initially just one way, but it's actually round trip. And that includes, after you get off the boat, you can take it to go back to the resorts. You can also take it to go back to the airport. And I found it to be extremely helpful. Plus, there are fun Disney videos and trivia on the way to and from the ship. And I think that was a huge perk.
And just to be clear, it was $45 per person in your family to do that. But like Dan said, it was round trip. And yes, just top tier Disney service from the resort to the ship. And then for us, it was from the ship back to Orlando International Airport. And it made everything so incredibly easy. 5 stars, would recommend.
Completely. And I want to hear from Mason. When you walk up there and you see the boat, and you just see the size and scope of it, it just takes your breath away. There's so much excitement going through customs. Like many, many times on this Disney Wish, the efficiency, the speed, the organization that they get you to and from where you need to go. I mean, you don't waste any time, you don't feel pressure, you don't feel rushed, but they get you where you need to go in a very professional, courteous way that I don't know that you can find anywhere else. Mason, I want to hear what you thought about going into Port Canaveral, seeing the boat, going through, checking in, and all the things before we actually boarded the ship.
After thinking about just how big the boat was, I thought, I'm going to get lost in this thing because there's so many floors, it's so wide, so long, and the amount of places you have to go. Like you said, you don't feel rushed, but you feel like good about the amount of places you have to go, and it just makes you feel happy thinking about it.
Yeah, happy is a great way to describe it. Once you get on the boat, there are a couple of things that happen. You check in your bags, and they promise they will bring them to your stateroom, and eventually you will find them in there. So it's a good idea to pack a bag with you, like a duffel bag, a backpack, or whatever, or wear your swimsuit so that you can enjoy things the first day. There's a little bit of a celebration. There's like a bon voyage party. This is also a great time to explore the parts of the ship that you can't go to once we actually cast off. And by that I mean the youth area, the edge area for people in Mason's age bracket. There's an area for teenagers. There's a couple of things you're not going to be able to do. So we explored them right away because we knew there was the there was the launch bay on there. And I know I've got a couple of highlights for the things that we explored early on. What about you, Deanna?
Yeah, when you get on the ship, it's just a good idea to go check out the areas that your kids will be spending time in, because after the boat launches, you don't enter those areas again because they're just for kids and adults aren't allowed. So it was good just to see where Mason would be hanging out.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
And just have a visual to attach with that. And like you said, just those other areas that we couldn't get to that we wanted to see, just all parts of the ship.
Yeah, I liked it because you guys could see what I was going to be doing, and then I could vision myself like doing it later that day or even on the days to come, and it was actually a lot of fun.
It was fun. It was fun, like you said, Mason, to be able to visualize what it was going to be like for you. There is the Star Wars area, the cargo bay, and then there's a Marvel area. So I went down there and took a lot of pictures and video because I knew I was going to get down there. Impressions of that area, Mason?
Yeah, when I first walked into the Star Wars one, I was like, whoa, this is cool. I think they had a Porg that was supposed to be like a live Porg, standing like how they have the Loth Cat in Galaxy's Edge, and I thought that was really cool.
Then there was the Marvel area, which isn't quite as big. There's a life-size Captain America costume, and was there a Black Widow costume too? Yeah. And there's a stage where there's clearly character interactions that happen throughout the course of the ship. But my favorite part, the cargo bay area is amazing, but we'll talk about that, I'm sure, on a later show. But my favorite part is there is a hand washing station. So tell me about that area.
It's like a hand washing station for little kids, and you put your hands in this like dishwasher basically, but you don't close anything, you just put it in there. And then once it senses your hands, it spins around soap and water on your hands, and you keep your hands in there until the water stops, and then you take them out and you dry it with a paper towel, and it was so satisfying.
I could not get enough of that. I thought that was so cool. I'm like, it sounds funny to say, but I'm not somebody to miss a good hand washing, and it's just so satisfying. It's like putting your hands in a car wash. Is that a fair comparison?
Yes, this part definitely won't resonate with everyone, but it was fascinating to see how little kids could easily wash their hands without turning on knobs and adults having to run around and clean up after that whole situation. So it was very ingenious.
And I think one of the reasons it's ingenious, besides a fun way for kids to wash their hands, is you're in close quarters for several evenings with a lot of people from all over the world. And therefore, cleanliness and being sanitary is just paramount to having a successful experience. And Disney does this so well, and there are just a lot of ways that they make that attention to detail.
Top tier on the cleanliness. You either wash your hands or get a hand sanitizing wipe when you go into every meal. So everyone is doing that on the way in. And then with regard to your stateroom, like every day the towels are changed out, the sheets are freshened up, everything is vacuumed. It was just like, as far as being clean and organized, and it was just Disney caliber wonderful.
Yeah, I like that. Disney caliber wonderful is a good way to describe that. Let's talk about some of the fun things there are to do, because basically every day you've got the Navigator app. On our first cruise, it was like a newspaper that you got, and you would look through and it would tell you kind of the times of everything. But now everything's on the app, and you can make your schedule. You can schedule different things that you want to try. It tells you where things are located, and it's very, very easy to get around, because in either you're in the forward side or the aft side, which is the back of the ship, there are very excellent labels and sort of maps that show you where everything is located and what part of the ship they are located. So you always know where to go and what to find. I know I've got some highlights of the entertainment and the fun things I did on the ship. Deanna, what were some of yours?
Well, I think it's important to point out that first few hours on the ship feels very chaotic and overwhelming, just because everyone is trying to run around and figure out what to do. And getting lost and not following signs, and some of us, like me, we're still doing that on day 4 and getting lost, but it's just a massive place to be in, and kind of getting your bearings takes a little bit of time, so give yourself time to do that. I think that would be my first advice. The launch party when you leave port is super fun. There's a lot of music and dancing, and you're up by the pools and the characters are there, but it is chaotic there. I mean, every little kid is so excited, every adult is so excited. There are a lot of people in close quarters. So I would say, you know, if you have kids, that's a fun thing to go do, and to see if you're on the ship without kids or with kids who are older, maybe go to one of the upper areas, kind of get out of the crowd a little bit, maybe more of the open decks, because it can just be super overwhelming with the music and the new experience and things like that.
I agree. I was going to recommend, and Deanna found some great spots for us later, but as you go on to decks 12 and 13, towards I think the back of the ship, the aft of the ship, there are a lot of decks that on the other side you think are for adults, but on the other side they're not, the opposite side of the ship. So you can go up there. There are several quiet areas. There's some shaded areas. You can get up to the edge and look out at everything. You can experience everything without that chaos of the crowd, unless you're someone that doesn't mind it, because people are excited. You know, they're videoing Mickey Mouse showing up, and I think it makes for quite an exciting thing. Mason, any tips for kids?
One of my favorite parts of like entertainment on the ship was definitely the Lilo and Stitch movie, watching that, and I think a lot of people would like to do that. And then going to Edge or like the Oceaneers Club for little kids and Vibe for older kids. But it was a lot of fun to like go hang out with kids my age. Yeah, in Edge it was a lot of fun to go, I think it was in the back left corner, and play Nintendo Switch Sports. It was kind of like a Wii Sports kind of thing, but there was a bunch of sports on there, and I played volleyball on that, and it was a lot of fun. And then also there was a foosball table in there, and there was a bunch of like TVs and stuff where you play video games, and everybody in there just seemed very happy.
One of the things that I like doing with Mason in that area, actually it was a separate area called the Hero Zone, and there was air hockey and foosball tables and bags and basketball hoops, and just going in there, and ping pong too. We did that, and just going in there with him and playing those things. That was a lot of fun, and that wasn't part of the restricted kid area. That was set up for families. So we did that several times while on the ship. And the ping pong area especially is amazing because there's floor to ceiling glass where you're overlooking the ocean while you're playing ping pong, which is a little bit different than playing in our garage.
As you get off the elevator, go around the corner, you'll see Marceline Market, where you have breakfast and lunch. It's the buffet, and they've got so many incredible foods. I highly recommend, I think Mason and Deanna would agree with me, the Mickey Waffle Churros. Those were amazing. They were very cinnamony and delicious. But then you turn around a corner and there is LED lighting that's around these steps that go to another level. And that is where the Hero Zone is, where Mason and Deanna allude to. And then on the other side, you've got a half-court basketball hoop. And I don't think the videos or the pictures that we saw before do it justice in any way. You've got the LED lighting for the three-point line, the free throw lane, and there's a rack of a bunch of basketballs, and it's fun. Mason and I played one-on-one a little bit, and of course he beat me like he always does. There's lots of kids there. Mason, anything you want to say about that before we talk about the obstacle course?
Playing in the Hero Zone made me want to get a air hockey table. So if you don't want to spend your money, stay away from the air hockey table. There's
one portion of the cruise where they set up the Incredibles, I don't know, it's called the Incredicourse, yes. And it's an obstacle course that's inflatable for people of all ages, so Mason and I compete against each other.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
There several times. It's awesome. I think I got some rug burns from wiping out, which I thought was funny. And there's a balcony that you can overlook everything. And I think Deanna got some good videos of that whole experience.
Yes, I got 3 or 4 videos of Mason beating you every single time. I did.
Hey, you know what? He's an athlete. What can I say? Let's talk about some of the food. What were some of the highlights of the food? Disney dining on a Disney cruise ship is renowned for the excellence, the service, the quality of the food. You're not going to go hungry. You are certainly going to be full a lot of the time. What are some highlights of the food and dining experiences for the both of you on the Disney Wish?
Well, I'm going to let Mason start this one, but I think that something that I wanted to point out is the minute we got on the ship, we ate lunch in the buffet lunch area, the Marceline Market, prior to checking out the rest of the ship before that stuff closed down. And that was a great idea because by the time you get on there, you're hungry. I think it was around 1 o'clock, 1:15 by the time we got on the ship. We were boarding group 20, which made us very nervous when we got there, but it went extremely fast. We were not waiting for hours and hours like it sounded like we were going to be when we found out we were boarding group 20. But so hot tip, eat very first thing when you get on the ship. Now, as far as favorite foods, Mason Zehr has the recommendation.
Every night at dinner, so the first night I ordered steak and I thought, oh, this is actually really good. I might think about ordering something like this again. And so we pre-ordered that night for the next night to make sure none of my food had egg. And I got the steak again because I thought, oh, I'll try it. Maybe this one's good too. And this one was even better than the last one. So again, I did the same thing and then again. And the steaks just kept getting better.
Yes, you made excellent use of the availability of steak on the boat. As a mom of a child with a food allergy, nothing compares to Disney as far as making me feel comfortable that he's not going to come into contact with any egg products that will make him sick. So they did an excellent job. Immediately when we sat down for our first dinner, they said, hello, Mason, I understand you have an egg allergy. And like Mason said, we were able to pre-order his items the night before so we could kind of think through that. And they could make him anything he wanted and make it egg-free, which was amazing because usually he's having to give up things that he wanted to have, like waffles or things like that. And they actually cook it in an entirely separate part of their kitchen for anybody with allergies. So there's not even any cross contact or anything like that. So as a parent of a kid with food allergy, nothing better than that Disney part. The food, of course, was excellent. I have never been so full in all my life. And shout out to Talia and Marvin. That was our wait staff on this cruise, and they were amazing. Just top notch, top to bottom, and we're dear friends by the last night.
Yes, definitely shout out to Talia and Marvin and then Michael at 1923 for the morning that we had breakfast. There's so many incredible people that go out of their way to make sure you have the best possible experience, that you're relaxed, that you are being taken care of, and that you know that it's sincere. They were amazing, and as probably you may know, or if you don't know, when you go on a Disney cruise, you are assigned a wait staff, essentially, that goes with you every night to every restaurant that you have. They know your preferences, they know what you like, they know what you'd rather not try. As Deanna said, Talia knew everything about how to help Mason with his allergies, even going so far as to say, whatever you're into, what would you like to try? We will make something for you that will help you enjoy without having to worry about any kind of allergies. And that's the kind of stuff, as Deanna mentioned, that's just the top tier quality that Disney provides that is just so amazing and that makes you feel so much better. There were 3 restaurants. You're on a rotation. In order, we had World of Marvel the first night, then we had Arendelle the second night. The third night was Pirate Night. It happened to be in Arendelle again, but everybody in all the restaurants has the exact same menu. And then our final night was in 1923. What would either of you like to say about the restaurants specifically?
I know you can't control the order in the restaurants, but I think ours worked out really well. Night 1, Marvel was an interactive show with dinner, which was really a fun way to kick off the cruise. Our second night, we ate at Arendelle, and it's actually dinner and a show. And we were at the engagement party of Anna and Kristoff. And so there's a lot of dancing and music and a live performance going on while you're eating. That was more like a noisier dinner and just a lot going on to pay attention to, but super fun and a beautiful venue. And then our last night was 1920. Well, no, then the next night we went back to Arendelle, but it was Pirate Night, and everyone has the same menu on Pirate Night, and they don't do the show. And then the last night we had 1923, and it was wonderful. I loved ending there. It was a little bit quieter and just very upscale. We even had breakfast in 1923. You can choose to do that at any time one morning, and it was a wonderful way to start the day. And again, just the wait staff was so great. And every night, our head server would come out, and Mason, of course, can cut his own steak, but our head server didn't want him to have to exert all that effort, so he would come out and do a show for them every night of how fast he could cut all of Mason's steak, and it just became like a really fun part of the evening. And then Marvin, one of our other servers, would come out and fold napkins for the kids into all of these animals, and they got bigger and better each night. By the last night, there were swans drinking out of glasses on the table, and just lots of entertainment like that for the kids. That those are core memories that you can hold on to as a parent, watching your kid being happy about those things, and as a kid, just the novelty of that happening at dinner.
I'm so glad you brought that up. There's really nothing I can add other than I've got two. Actually, that's not true. I've got 2 words: butter cake. The butter cake dessert that we had in Arendelle was incredible. I didn't even know butter cake was a thing. But now I'm spoiled for life because that was really, really good. There was also a morning where if you don't feel like having the buffet or going into one of the restaurants to have a breakfast, you can get room service, which is a part of your Disney cruise experience. There is a dresser drawer that you pull out, and it's got a menu. It's just pastries and toast and coffee and juice and things like that, cereals. But if you put it out, I think before 10:30 at night. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Before 2 a.m., you can have room service the next day. And Deanna thought that would be a great way to start our morning before we went to Castaway Cay. And I think that was a big hit as well.
That was a great way to start our day at Castaway Cay. And while we mentioned Castaway Cay, we should probably go ahead and just talk about Castaway Cay, Disney's private island that they own in the Bahamas. And that day is just always extra special. It's so beautiful there. Again, the staff is wonderful. You have a fun barbecue lunch. It is like the perfect beach day with none of the usual schlepping around that you have to do at the beach. You get off the boat, they hand you a towel, they put you on a tram, they drop you off at the beach. You find a chair, you hang out all day. Someone cooks you a wonderful barbecue lunch. Whenever you feel like it, you can go back on the tram or walk back to the boat. They hand you a nice cold towel and some lemon or cucumber water to rehydrate, and you can get back on the boat. And you can stay for a full 8 hours, or you could go for 2 hours. It's really completely up to you. So we really enjoy Castaway Cay as an experience. However, this time, I think one of my favorite parts of Castaway Cay was when we sat down for lunch and Dan had gotten a nice piece of fish as part of his lunch. And then he decided to get up again and go back to the drink station, as he likes to do, you know, whether we're at the parks or whatever. He likes to go freshen up his drinks. And he went to get a soda, and he stood up and walked away, and a bird came down and stood on his plate and took the fish and flew away with it. And Mason and I could not stop laughing. And so when Dan came back, there was a napkin that I had laid over his plate and told him to discard it and start over. So if you plan to leave your plate on the table, do cover it with your napkin, because the birds, they know what they're doing there.
I gotta say, that was funny. When I came back, Deanna and Mason had this look on their face of disbelief and humor, and the people sitting around us had a very similar experience too. And Disney was great. Someone took my tray and just encouraged me to go back and go ahead and start over. And there are like 5 or 6 lines at cookies and cookies too. And so it's very, very quick and easy to get the food that you would like. They also have the ice cream that you can have. That's another part of this. On deck 11 of the ship, there's refillable areas for drinks on both sides. There's like a little food court with barbecue. You can get hamburgers, cheeseburgers. You can get pizza. You can also get, there's almost like a Chipotle style thing there. And then they also have chicken tenders. Now everyone raves about the chicken tenders on the boat, and I must admit I was a tad skeptical. I'm like, okay, how special can chicken tenders be? I mean, they're chicken tenders. I was wrong. They were fantastic.
Your other stop besides Castaway Cay on the 4-night cruise of the Bahamas is Nassau. And last time Dan and I did get off the boat and explore Nassau a little bit. This time we opted to stay on the boat, and the 3 of us enjoyed swimming, laying out on the decks, going on the Aqua Mouse, and just kind of enjoying a little bit of a quieter ship, and I really liked that. So if you've already been to Nassau or you don't have any excursions that you want to do, staying on the boat is an option. You could also do that at Castaway or go off for half the day, and I just enjoy that because the crowds were cut down a little bit on some of the things that we wanted to do.
Yes, I'm glad you brought the Aqua Mouse. I went on the Aqua Mouse. It is a 2-person ride. It's a well-oiled machine just like everything else on the cruise, and it's a blast. It's the first attraction on a cruise ship, and you go through and see some different little videos of the newer style Mickey Mouse cartoons. Anytime Mickey or Goofy or Donald get splashed, there's water that shoots out at you, and then you go through a classic water slide, and it's a ton of fun. It goes quickly, but it's also doesn't seem like you've waited in line just to get it over with right away. It's just a ton of fun, a really cool thing to do. And there's also another slide on the boat as well on the opposite side. I think it is Toy Story themed. Slidosaurus Rex. Gosh, there's so many things. I'm sure we'll talk about this a lot more later. As Mason mentioned at the top of the show, they have the Walt Disney Theater, which really do the Broadway style shows. But they also show first run Disney films. And this one, if you're listening to this at the time of the recording, it was the movie Lilo and Stitch, the live action one, which was completely delightful. There's popcorn and snacks and things like that. And it was just, the sound in that theater is unbelievable. There were moments when there were birds chirping or the waves, and I had to kind of look around to see what was going on, but it was just from the movie. The sound effects, the quality are so good.
Listening to Coffee with Kenobi, you are with Dan Z, the podcast you're looking for. This is
As we wrap up, because every time there's a Coffee with Kenobi trip, I always record my thoughts on the way home from the airport. I want to give a special shout out again to Becky Mankin and her team at MEI Travel and Mouse Fan Travel. All of her associates that worked with us to make this trip the best it could possibly be, not only for the cruise, but for the theme parks and the resorts before that. And an extra special shout out to the members of the Coffee with Kenobi family that you heard earlier in the show. for them coming on this experience with us, for bringing members of their family, for being like a second family to us in the Star Wars family that is Coffee with Kenobi. I can't imagine it being as fun as it was without them. When you have people from all over the world that come to travel together, I think there's something extra special about that. I highly encourage you, when you book your next Disney cruise or your first Disney cruise, that you use Coffee with Kenobi's official travel partner, MEI Travel and Mouse Fan Travel. Go to coffeewithkenobi.com/mousefantravel and bring your friends, bring your family on the cruise, because it really is so much more extraordinary when you're able to do things like that together.
My absolute favorite part of this trip is who we shared it with, and the group that went with us on the ship, and just the friendships that were solidified and formed, and just made it the experience all the much better. It would be an excellent trip for extended family to take together, or friend groups. Everything is organized to perfection by MEI Travel and Mouse Fan Travel. Other than the company we kept, my favorite part was just making amazing memories with my family, and especially with Mason. I can't say there's a perfect age to take your child on this trip, because there were gems throughout the whole thing that just I'll keep with me forever. So loved the experience and the service.
Yeah, it was so fun to be there with everybody, and especially with family and friends and even people we didn't know, just talking to them randomly and having fun.
That's another part that was great. As Mason would spend time on the edge, Deanna and I could go to the adult areas, and we just spent some time. We spent hours just sitting up on the deck, finding these really comfortable chairs, getting some drinks, reading books, taking naps, just enjoying the adult pool and the ocean itself. It was just a tremendous time. We're slap happy. We've had a lot of fun. And now it's time to go home and get ready for the next Coffee with Kenobi travel experience. I know you're curious. We are working on lots of details and plans. But in the meantime, you're undoubtedly going to go on vacation. So again, be sure to use the official travel partner of Coffee with Kenobi, MEI Travel and Mouse Fan Travel. Check out all the information and get your no cost, no obligation quote at coffeewithkenobi.com/mousefantravel. On behalf of myself, Deanna, and Mason Zehr, and all the members of the Coffee with Kenobi community that traveled with us on the Disney Wish, I want to thank you for joining us. Be sure to look at all of our social media for videos, pictures, and tips for your next travel experience. Thanks again, everybody. I'm Dan Zehr, and this is the podcast you're looking for.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.
There's no one here. Move along.
Breaking news from the stadium tonight as an anonymous fan foot the bill for 55,000 hot dogs, bringing that sweet tubed meat to everyone in attendance.
Free dogs! Yeah!
55,000 hot dogs? What does that even cost?
While the identity of this Frankfurter philanthropist remains anonymous, their all-beefy generosity will go down in history.
The new Mega Millions. More to win means more to give. How you spend it is up to you.
Yeah!
For game odds and details, visit SCEducationLottery.com.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No